word for me right now, just because the emotion that's attached to it. But I obviously believe that the citizens of Idaho are doing the right thing.
A disappointing day for same-sex couples in the Gem State, one day after they declare victory in the battle over marriage rights. Early this morning, Idaho became the first state to have a ruling from the Supreme Court on the issue. Our big story tonight, team coverage of the ruling and its impact on the couples. We start with On Your Side's Chris Oswalt with all the details.
The decision by the Supreme Court came in this one-page ruling after the state asked for an emergency stay overnight. The court's decision came not only as a surprise, but as a disappointment for the couples looking to wed. A curious question from a young boy hoping to see his two moms, Andrea Altmeyer and Sheila Robinson, wed after a ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down Idaho's ban on same-sex marriage. The two joined dozens of couples at the Ada County Courthouse Wednesday morning, a day that began with celebrations and ended with sorrow. Just as the county began to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples, a Supreme Court ruling halted the county clerks.
2 minutes before 8 o'clock, we received a stay from the state informing us the Supreme Court had put a stay on this case.
The order from the Supreme Court stays a mandate from the Ninth Circuit requiring Idaho to issue same-sex marriage license. It was issued by Justice Anthony Kennedy in response to an emergency motion Governor Otter and the Attorney General filed Wednesday morning. The state cited potential for, quote, chaos, confusion, conflict, and uncertainty in the request. Deborah Ferguson, attorney for the plaintiffs, and her clients say this fight is not over.
Well, we'll be back. I mean, the very next thing is we have a response due to the Supreme Court 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Just another step in the process, and we're going to keep our heads held high, and this is going to happen.
Idaho's case is the first to have the Supreme Court intervene. Just Monday, the High Court refused to get involved in 5 other cases. It's why this ruling by Justice Kennedy came as a surprise to many of the couples who had hoped to get a marriage license.
We had made it all the way to the counter, and then that stay came out, so that's surprising to say the least. Yeah.
Right now, the plaintiff's attorney is writing a response to the stay. I'm told it will be filed by that 5 p.m. deadline tomorrow. Once that is done, 3 things can happen. The Supreme Court can lift its stay, they can keep the stay in place, or they can choose to hear Idaho's case altogether. Chris Oswalt, Idaho, on your side.
This case has moved relatively quickly through the courts. The defendants filed the suit in November of last year. In May of this year, federal judge Candy Dale heard the case and within a week ruled the state's ban unconstitutional. Governor Butch Otter and Attorney General Lawrence Wasden asked Dale for a stay. She denied it. The state immediately appealed to the Ninth Circuit. 3 justices heard the case in early September. They issued a ruling yesterday, leading us to this point. As Governor Otter continues to fight for what he calls the will of the people, drawing on the 63% approval of Idaho's marriage amendment, his competitors in the gubernatorial race are taking a different stance. Democrat candidate A.J. Belukoff firmly supported gay marriage, saying, this ruling recognizes that in America we do not have the right to impose our beliefs and practices on other people, and that discrimination is wrong. We must treat all people equally with kindness and respect. I'm proud of the courage shown by these people who challenged a law that violates the U.S. Constitution. Libertarian John Bujak took what he calls a practical approach. He says, I'm disappointed Governor Otter continues to use taxpayer money fighting the issue. It's a fight that simply can't be won. Idaho's best course is to spend money on other issues such as education and reclaiming control over public lands. And adds, no matter what you think about the decision, it's inevitable the courts are going to strike down Idaho's marriage amendment. This morning's last-minute news, of course, heartbreaking to many same-sex marriage supporters who have followed this case through the courts for several months. On Your Side's Karen Lair was at the courthouse this morning to have their reaction.
As early as 7 a.m., same-sex marriage supporters began gathering at the Ada County Courthouse with the expectation couples would leave the building marriage license in hand. But at 7:58, that all changed, and now supporters are faced with frustration yet again. What began as a celebration in front of the Ada County Courthouse,
I am feeling absolute joy,
quickly turned into a morning of pure disappointment for same-sex marriage supporters in the state of Idaho.
I'll call you in a little bit. Don't come. Just stay home.
Couples who planned to leave the courthouse with marriage licenses were turned away after the Ninth Circuit granted another stay on same-sex marriages in the Gem State just 2 minutes before licenses were to be issued.
It's that constant reminder that the past hasn't changed, the constant giving and taking away. I can't be more frank than that.
I just don't see the reason behind it. I really don't.
It was a really drastic surprise. We were all really excited this morning, and we thought it was finally going to happen. And then when we got to the courthouse, we found out that the stay had been issued, and everyone was really devastated.
Erin Nelson came to support her mother, who planned to marry her partner of 10 years.
They were so disappointed that they had to go home.
Hundreds of supporters came out to the courthouse intending to congratulate same-sex couples preparing to tie the knot.
These tears being shed today should be tears of joy, and they're tears of sorrow. That's not what we came here for.
But even with this step backwards, those who support gay marriage in Idaho say their momentum is still moving forward.
And it won't be long. It won't be long. We're going to make it happen in Idaho.
Supporters say this isn't the last time they'll be out celebrating at the courthouse. Organizers say they are already planning festivities for whenever the Supreme Court makes their decision. In studio, I'm Karen Lair, Idaho on your side.
Same-sex marriages are on hold in Idaho for now, but the fight between the state and plaintiffs is far from over. There is a pretty heated discussion on our Facebook page right now. Just search Idaho on your side to weigh.